Thanks, everyone. Greetings, saludos, and welcome to the virtual launch of Right to Democracy. Saludos a todos, todas y todes los que estén con nosotros hoy. Para escuchar esta presentación en español, por favor, presionen la tecla de interpretación en la barra de herramientas en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Presionan silenciar audio original para mejorar el sonido. Pero si usted entiende tanto inglés como español, les recomendamos que no elija la función de interpretación para que nos acompañe en la versión en inglés. Well, greetings. My name is Adi Martinez Roman. I'm originally from Arecibo, Puerto Rico, and currently live in Rio Piedras, San Juan, Puerto Rico. Neil and I are extremely excited to be here today and present to you this new phase in our professional endeavors. After years of working in community empowerment through participatory methods, I'm joining Neil to create this new organization, Right to Democracy, to confront colonialism in the US territories. In Puerto Rico, after Hurricane Maria, our life changed. Community and local organizations took charge of recovery and are still struggling to bring sustainable solutions to the issues they face. The main obstacles to these solutions is not lack of local knowledge, information, or even resources. The problem is the lack of a governance that actually responds to the local needs and does not integrate real participation of local communities. The crux of the problem is the colonial framework that underscores our governance. That is why when such a distinguished colleague with years of experience in litigating the insular cases called me to confront this, I said yes. Neil?
Thanks, Addie. I'm so thrilled to be working with Addie to create this new project. Addie is someone who's spent most of her professional life working in communities to support community empowerment and self-determination. Last year, after the Supreme Court did not take up the opportunity to overrule the insular cases, I really realized that while we'd made a lot of progress, we still had a long ways to go. It became clear that one of the central problems is that the United States does not even recognize that it has colonies or a colonial problem to begin with. And how can you solve a problem if you don't even recognize it exists in the first place? As we approach 125 years of undemocratic colonial rule over US territories this year, I am extremely excited to be partnering with Addie to launch Right to Democracy and bring a new approach to tackling these issues. 125 years is too long to be denied democracy. It's too long to be denied self-determination. It's too long to be denied equality. So with that, I'll pass it along to Addie to talk a little bit more about our new approach.
Thanks. So with Right to Democracy, we are working with a new theory of change that is based on 3 pillars: advocacy, changing the narrative, and ecosystem building. And with this, we are going to emphasize more on the process itself and how things are going to be built in a way that it is impactful more than the results. Therefore, when we do litigation, we're going to do litigation that is centered on the client through techniques of community lawyering and involving not only the client in the creation of the litigation itself, but only the community that where he belongs, where she belongs, where they belong. And likewise, when we build advocacy strategies, we're going to do it in a participatory way, doing participatory advocacy methods in order to define and co-create meaning with the people, entities, and leaders of the communities affected and in the mainland that want to collaborate with us in this creation of this movement. In this way, we want to change the narrative and change the narrative through strategic communications where we can also impact people that do not know that the colonial governance exists in the territories. It is not uncommon that you talk to people in the United States, in the mainland, and outside, and they don't know that there is still a colonial framework governing the territories of the United States. So for us, it is truly important in this new approach to co-create meaning with all of you. And when I say co-create meaning, is to have you participate in understanding what being a colony means, how it impacts you, or why do you care about changing this type of governance in the United States. So we're going to be true to our word. And as a participatory exercise, I'm going to introduce a team member, Elliot Tricotti, that is going to explain you how from the get-go you can participate in this with us.
Yeah, so hi, everybody. I'm Elliot Tricotti. First of all, I would say that the issue of colonialism and colonialism in the US and territorial affairs in general is something that I have been passionate about and deeply involved in, both personally and professionally, for as long as I can remember. So it has been very exciting to be able to work with Neo and Adi to sort of get this project off the ground. And with that said, thank you so much for joining us today. You are our lifeblood, obviously. And with that, we wanted to invite everybody to just do a quick exercise to let us know what a right to democracy means to you. So you can scan the QR code on your screen or go to slido.com and input the code on your screen. And yeah, you will be able to submit what does a right to democracy means to you, and towards the end we'll go over them and share some of your input. So we would appreciate if we get that. So with that, I'll send it over back to Adi and Neo.
Thank you, Elliot. Thank you. And yes, please participate in this little exercise. So basically, Right to Democracy is born with the mission to confront and dismantle the undemocratic colonial framework that impacts 3.6 million of people in the US territories. As we are conscious also that many of the people in the territories that have had to move into the mainland are also impacted by the colonial framework. And so it is a big community that we are trying to involve. Also, we are working for the vision that people in the US territories should have power and agency over the decisions that impact their lives. There should be no colonies in the United States. And so that way we value what agency means for the dignity of the human that live in the territories. We are working with very important values that we have been building in the past 3 months. And I think these values are the core of what we are proposing to do with our new organization. And we are very excited to share it with you. Definitely building common ground. We want to be able to work collectively with people in the different territories. As you're going to see today, we are integrating into this work. And it has been one of the most exciting things that I've been able to do in the past few months, is to be able to work with people of the different territories, work with people of diverse perspectives, trying to build these, identify the common grounds and build meaning together to leverage our collective power and achieve our objective. Also, we are going to respect differences by listening through open dialogues, and we're going to explain what's gonna undertake during the summer, and emphasizing that this is not only about rights that are written in a piece of paper, but this is like about the lived experiences and what goes on in a specific context in the different territories and for the people that have had to leave them. Also, we want to provoke change. We don't only want to build meaning, but we also want to build a movement that provokes systemic change, and that we'll do this by increasing engagement, action, and accountability of the authorities that are making the decision that affect us. Fourth, on the values, we want to make sure to stay focused. So our organization objectives that are going to be explained by Neil are very specific. And we want to be able to leverage our professional and collective knowledge to be able to focus on those goals to promote systemic change. And lastly, but not less important, we want to avoid toxicity. In our professional experience that we've had through the years, we've seen how some differences become trumps. They become an obstacle to be able to have productive dialogues or collaboration. So definitely we want to be able to approach this together with other groups that are going to work with good faith and are going to shift together from zero-sum politics and center ourselves in the shared goals, trying not to cancel or disrespect each other's perspectives. So these values are going to feed what we're going to do throughout the next few years. Neil.
Thanks, Eddie. And our values really do inform the goals of the organization and how we'll be approaching them. The first goal we have is to bring about a reckoning to address 125 years of this colonial and undemocratic framework affecting US territories. 125 years is long enough. It's time we have a true reckoning to address these longstanding issues. Part of that is working to overrule the Insular cases and dismantle the racist colonial framework. To get there, we need to work together and build a coalition that unites rather than divides the territories and brings together people who have different views, whether it's political status or politics, to work together. There's a lot of common ground here, and we're stronger if we work towards centering that as opposed to highlighting differences people may have. Just as important too is recognizing that the colonial framework is something that harms not just people in the territories, but all of the United States. So we're going to be working to ensure the United States commitments to democratic principles and international law are achieved. And we'll be doing this through making decolonization a mainstream issue that demands action. And finally, something that is a critical part of all of our work is centering diversity as a strength in everything we do by working together to create meaning and working to find our collective power together as opposed to working at cross purposes. So that's some of the exciting goals that we have ahead of ourselves, and Ed will talk a little bit more about some of the team we're working with to accomplish that.
And this is one of the parts I'm so very excited to have been able to experience in the last few months that I've been working, and it's building this great team, this great board of directors, which is composed by a very diverse group of people. People that belong to the territory, that live in the territories, people that live in the mainland and have ties to the territories, people from different ideologies, and definitely even supporters from the mainland that have had experiences similar. So it is a very broad group of people with different ideas on how we can collaborate, even when we have different ideologies of what status or what type of economic ideologies we have. We definitely have come together in common ground to work through the colonial framework as a problem that has to be confronted. And Today we have the opportunity to hear from three amazing board members. We have Nisha Christian Hendrickson from the Virgin Islands. We have Charles Alai Lima from American Samoa, and we have Vanessa Williams from Guam. So I'm gonna leave Nisha to introduce herself.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you, Addie. My name is Nisha Christian Hendrickson. I am a past president of the Virgin Islands Bar Association and the current treasurer. I serve in my day job as the assistant commissioner and legal counsel for the Virgin Islands Department of Labor. I was born and raised in St. Croix, and my family connections to the Virgin Islands stretch back several generations, including actually more than 10 generations. I've worked with Neil on various different amicus briefs through the Virgin Islands Bar Association. I'm very grateful to be able to be a board member in this current new launch for the rights to democracy. The reason why I care about these issues is because I feel that we as persons reside in and are part of the diaspora of the territories have the capacity and the ability to increase our contributions in all aspects, as well as to self-govern effectively. Having these rights will give us more access to data, more resources, and impact the lives of the people of the territories in many positive ways. And the right to democracy means to me the right to be able to vote, the right to be able to choose, the right to be able to be treated similarly to all Americans. Thank you, Addie.
That's great. Charles. Can you hear us, Charles?
Okay.
There you
My
go.
name is Charles Alai Lima, and I am here in American Samoa. I was born in the territory of American Samoa, but also raised in the independent Samoa and also in Hawaii. I went to school in the US, and after graduating from law school at the University of Hawaii, I came back to American Samoa to do my legal work back in 1979. So I've been around these islands for the past 40 years, and I'm retiring. So I have time to do the work that I'm interested in. My history and my family history is very connected to this idea of cultural preservation of the Samoan system. And in the context of this interest that I have, I worked with Neil since 2012 and trying to get this issues of the insular cases directly before the courts and up to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, as we got to the doorstep of the Supreme Court, they said no. I enjoy, and I'm very glad to see that Neil has taken and Addie have taken this next step to be able to try to educate and be able to show the people of the territories how they are affected by this colonial past. And it's not just the idea that somehow there is this colonial authority impacting the territories. It's also the fact that over the years, even the indigenous people, local people, have begun to accept that type of imposition and say that this is something that's important to them and that they want to maintain this institutional structure because they think that that is to their benefit. So I think in this situation, it's to educate the public here that, no, you need to understand the situation that you're facing and that that you adopt these same principles that the colonialists had, and you become as impactful, you become as much a part of the issues that deal with racism and the other matters as the colonialists that you are complaining about. So I think in this particular case, I think the structure, the goals that have been set out, I think are very important. We try to do this in a manner that is respectful, but that it is also insistent. We need to be able to show America that it can have that diversity and that diversity is a strength, and that we can exist not as separate people, but as Americans. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Charlie, what time is over there in American
It is
Samoa?
10:30.
Wow.
In the morning.
Good morning,
In the morning.
Charlie. Thank
Good
you.
morning.
Now we go to Vanessa. Vanessa, please introduce yourself.
Good morning. It is 7:30, almost 7:30 here in Guam.
Oh my God.
And so half a day. Buenos, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Vanessa Lee Williams. I am here in Guam. I am Chamorro, indigenous to the island, and I've spent most of my life here, except for the period of time where I went to university and law school in the United States, in California, and I returned to Guam 13 years ago. My day job is that I am a lawyer. I do litigation, especially involving the government of Guam and the United States. I am chair of the Guam Advisory Committee for the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. I also served as chair of the Guam Cannabis Control Board and a founder and past president of the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce. And the reason I care about these issues is that I think that the vision for Guam and all of the territories as they exist right now is limitless, if not bounded by the framework of colonialism. And the right to democracy, to me, means the right to determine that destiny, including that economic destiny. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Vanessa, for joining us so early in the morning in Guam. We're also very excited to have here with us in DC, one of our advisory board members, Professor John Britton, who's a longtime civil rights lawyer and scholar, who brings, I think, a broader perspective of how these issues fit into broader civil rights and human rights issues. Professor Britton, if you could say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so honored to be a member of the Right to Democracy Advisory Committee. I have known Neil since he was a law student at Yale University and argued successfully a case before the Connecticut Supreme Court when he was still a law student. I've been involved in the law for 54 years, specializing in civil rights and international human rights, as both a civil rights lawyer, a law school professor, and a law school dean. I'm honored to join in this movement to dismantle 125 years of colonialism.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Britton. It's great to have you as part of the team. Let me introduce or show some of the other folks we have on the advisory board, which includes other law professors, including Rafael Cox Alamar, Professor Christina Ponza Kraus, the Honorable Sheila Babauta from the Northern Mariana Islands, and the Honorable Danya Christensen from the U.S. Virgin Islands. We're pleased to have their counsel as we work to build this organization together. As part of our process over the next few months, as Addie will be talking more about, we'll be coming to each of the territories, talking to folks. We're also looking for folks who'd be interested in serving on our board or on advisory board, bringing different perspectives that reflect the values and goals of the organization. So if anyone's interested, we'd love to hear more from you and talk more with you about some of those opportunities. We'll also be making additional hires on our team in the coming months, and we'll have more information on that as well. Ed, do you want to talk a little bit more about some of our plans in the coming months?
Yes, definitely. There is going to be a lot of work done in the next few months. As I explained before, our work divides in 3 pillars: participatory advocacy, narrative change, and ecosystem building. And in order to launch this effort, we are doing this virtual launch that touches upon all the territories at the same time, but also we are going to be doing in-person launches the 24th of May, we're going to be in New York City. The 25th of May, we're going to be in Washington, D.C. in person. So it's going to be in-person lounges. And we are going to be the 1st of June, location to be determined, is going to be announced pretty soon in Puerto Rico. We're going to be in the end of June, we're going to go to the Virgin Islands. And we're going to go to Guam in July. Late August, more or less. We're still defining the date. Throughout these launch events, we're also going to be structuring some participatory dialogues where we are going to reach out to leaders and organizations on the territories to have conversations about what colonialism means, how this affects their lives, and what would, an advocacy agenda can look like. And so we can co-create meaning through these few months. This listening tour will also impact the west side of the United States and mainland. We're going to involve groups from the mainland, especially in the west of the United States, where we can speak with American Samoan, because we are not going to be able to go to American Samoa in person, but we are going to be involving and doing activities that involve people from American Samoa also. And all this heading to a summit that is going to take place in September in New York City, which is going to be a convening of those groups that are interested and want to get involved in building this movement and want to participate with us in the strategy of advocacy. And also, we are going to convene funders so we can present them what this ecosystem can look like, and they can make commitments to this work as we move forward. So it's going to be a very exciting next month for Right to Democracy. And we really want you to, if you're interested, reach out to us so we can start including you in the events and start building together what it's going to be the ecosystem to dismantle American colonialism. And I think with that said, we are going to go to the results of the survey. Oh yes, a lot of people participated, and I need to put my glasses on to be able to read this. Okay, so Right to Democracy means, for the people that participated today, not having to hide who I am, where I'm from, or who I choose to love. Oh my God, I got goosebumps already. Another participant answered, the right to vote for the people who decide what is best for the territories, mainly to be able to vote for the President of the United States under which Puerto Rico is governed, as well as having the right of representation in the US Congress. Thank you for your participation. Right to Democracy, to another participant, means to have the right to participate fully in a political structure of lawmaking bodies that have jurisdictions over our life. Ooh, I'm gonna take some of that language for our pamphlets. Also, Right to Democracy means decisions are made at the level of the greater impact. Thank you for that. Next, we have another participant answered, right to democracy is making sure that the Constitution and all of its rights apply equally across the US and to all US citizens, even those wrongly named US non-citizen nationals, and ensuring a right to self-determination and autonomy. Thank you so much. Also, we have that right to democracy means right to choose those who will have the power to make decisions that impact my life. Great. So, there were like 30 responses. This is a small example of what these responses look like. We definitely recognize that there is different ideas, different perspectives of what a right to democracy, what the end of colonialism means to each one of us who is participating in this organization and also in this movement. So we look forward to keep working with you. in the next few months and years to build this movement to confront US colonialism and to be able to dismantle this framework that has affected US territories in ways that are stuck when attending to their social issues, and to be able to have dignified lives in the places they like to inhabit. So Neil, you want to say some last words?
No, I think that's great. And as Addie said, we really want to hear from you what you think a right to democracy means, what you think confronting colonialism means. There's no one right answer. Lots of people have different perspectives, and we want to come together and have that conversation. And as a beginning part of that conversation, we have time for a short question and answer. I'll hand it over to Elliot to get that started for us.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, you are our lifeblood. So thank you for all the spirited questions here. We might not have enough time to go through all of them, but let's start with the first one. Anonymous is asking, will this be a bipartisan project, and what will be the approaches for Republicans who are hesitant to support these causes?
Sure, I could take a start on that one. So from the get-go, our organization is bipartisan. We have members of our board of directors who identify as both Republican and Democrat, socially liberal, socially conservative. And this is an issue that shouldn't be considered partisan or ideological. As we saw in the Supreme Court just this last term, you have conservative justices like Neil Gorsuch say that the insert cases should have no place in our law because they're based on racial stereotypes, and then liberal justices like Sonia Sotomayor saying that the insert cases reasoning was both odious and wrong. So if we could have that kind of agreement between people on the Supreme Court who disagree about a lot of issues, I think it shows us some of the path forward to working with people of different political perspectives, both in the territories at a national level in Congress, and even across administrations, whether it's the Biden administration or any future administrations.
And in addition, we have to recognize that in the territories, this bipartisan or ideological inclinations also divide in very different ways. So we are striving for the work that we're going to do is inclusive of perspectives, and that, yes, in the different territories, we get to know each other and get to know those dynamics that affect us, and that we can be respectful of how we attend to them, focus on the goal that we want to achieve as a group.
And if I might just add to that real quick, I guess the short answer is yes, it's a bipartisan project, but it's not so much a bipartisan project as an all-partisan project, right? We're not focused on Democrats or Republicans exclusively. We are focused on all the different political organizations, be it in the actual states or in the territories. Next question. We have a question from Phil Leon Guerrero. He asks, or they ask, one issue that highlights the difference of opinions on self-determination is a diverse community like Guam. In a diverse community like Guam, is who should participate in political status votes. So what is the organization's position on native only or open participation in plebiscites?
Yeah, I think that's a great question that kind of speaks to how important it is to talk to people in each of the territories to get their perspectives on these issues. We don't, as an organization, have any strong policy positions on a range of these issues because we want to hear what people think about them, and work with communities to find a path forward on these issues. So we look forward to talking with folks in Guam. We'll be out there in late August. We'll be sharing more information and look forward to talking to people who have all kinds of different perspectives on that question and a whole range of other questions impacting the community.
All right, next question. We have a question from Angel. He is asking, What results could we expect from the organization in terms of mapping the different options of self-determination available to the populated territories within the U.S. constitutional framework?
Okay, so our dialogues are going to be directed at defining common grounds on how we want to tackle, how we want to push this movement to make the government of the United States, the three branches, recognize that it has a problem, a colonial problem. In those dialogues, we are very aware that the mechanism that is used after this issue of having a legal framework is solved, we're going to have dialogues to be able to define what are the different mechanisms or advocacy, policy actions that could be proposed or be on the table to serve as mechanisms when we are ready to have meaningful self-determination after we are able to dismantle the colonial framework. That's why in our values, we insist that we're going to be very focused on the reckoning that there is a problem, because it doesn't matter how much we talk and we value the work that all different organizations across the territories that have been fighting for this issue in different ways and different ideologies. We value that work, but we have to recognize that what holds us, what brings us together is that we're stuck, because there is a colonial framework that makes these issues unsurpassable at a federal level. So having that reckoning for us is the main focus, the main objective, having dismantled the colonial framework, and throughout that dialogue that we're going to be undertaking with the ecosystem, be able to define what are those mechanisms that different groups want to bring to the table and present as options in terms of the mechanism that will provide meaningful self-determination.
And I would just add to that a little bit. I think sometimes we get so focused on what different possible solutions could be, or what's the quote unquote best solution for a particular territory or the territories altogether, that we lose focus of this underlying issue that the United States doesn't even recognize it has a problem right now. So as we're focusing on different solutions and comparing between them, we miss out on that common ground of one of the first steps to solving a problem is to get the person to actually recognize there's a problem to begin with. So that's going to be a lot of our focus of our work initially, but we are really excited to talk with people who have a range of status perspectives and include them as part of our team and as part of the conversation.
Okay, I think we have time for three more questions,
One or two.
Okay. So we have a question here from Joshua. He congratulated us for spearheading this effort. Thank you, Joshua. And he's also asking, will the organization work closely with the Committee on Decolonization from Guam? He says, I followed this resource for a while now, wishing Puerto Rico and the other territories we could emulate their work approach and structure.
Yeah, and as Addie said, we're not starting off from a clean slate here. There's lots of folks, organizations that have been doing this work for a long period of time. The Guam Commission on Decolonization is a great example of that has been, really laser focused on these issues for more than a decade. Community groups in Guam, the Finogi Coalition, and members of that that have been so active. We're looking forward to engaging and being in conversation with them and using a lot of the resources that they've produced and really connecting folks from different territories together to learn from each other. I think there's a lot other territories could learn from the work that the Guam Commission on Decolonization has done. I think there's also a lot that folks in Guam can learn from some of the experiences that people in the Virgin Islands or other territories have had as well. And I think that's going to be one of the really exciting parts of this process is as we work to curate opportunities for people to meet across different territories and learn from each other and work together to grow their power to address these issues at a broader level.
Great. All right. Well, last question. Sent by Anonymous. they're asking, will the organization address the individual characteristics / needs of each territory, or will the movement be done holistically?
So what we strive to do, and the question about the Guam Commission is interesting because it kind of opens the door to answer this question also. What we strive to do is to have organizations that are doing different type of social, economical work in the different territories and feel that there is barriers to achieve their goals because there is this colonial framework, this problem that makes the territories invisible before the structures of governance, or that creates dynamics inside the territories that don't permit work to be done effectively. We want to get involved with those organizations, be it organizations that work with climate change, organizations that work with housing, that work with child or youth development. And of course, organizations that work with decolonization. In order to be able to find what are those policy agenda that we could, as a movement, push to promote that their work is more efficient. Actually, the ecosystem that we are striving to build is an ecosystem to bring the resources to those organizations. So we want to bring resources to the movement, to the organization themselves, so they can keep doing their work, but also attend the angle of those barriers and challenges that keep them from being completely effective, and that have to do with the colonial legal framework. So therefore, it is a holistic attempt, but it's a holistic attempt that will, through co-creation of meaning, be able to define which avenues we could work together to create mechanisms that make social impact in each of the territories also.
Exactly. And with that, I think that we can wrap up. We do have one last question that I think is very appropriate to end our webinar here. It's from Jason Bootsan. He's saying, what are the next steps that our audience can do to follow our work, to keep in touch with what we're doing, etc. So I would go ahead and answer that question by saying to go to our website. It is currently on the screen. I'll go ahead and type and put it here in the chat. It's RtDemocracy.us. And if you go to RtDemocracy.us/join, you'll get sent directly to the sign up page. And yeah, there you'll be able to receive everything we sent you. We promise we won't bombard you with unnecessary spam, and we won't share your information. But yeah, that is the best way to keep in touch with our work now. And also you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. It's RtDemocracy on both, but with the number 2. So #2 Democracy.
And definitely please sign up because in the webpage, we're also going to have like a map where all the events are going to be taking place, including the dialogues. But we're very interested on receiving feedback as to groups that want to participate on the dialogues throughout the summer. Be it any type of, from youth groups, any type of groups that want to participate in the dialogues, please write so we can structure them in a participatory way also. And also to tell us simply tell us what a right to democracy means to you as we build this movement throughout the next few months. Neil, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'll just encourage people. We do have a survey asking people what a right to democracy means to them at RtDemocracy.us. And we're just very excited to be starting this together with you, and just thrilled for what lies ahead, and look forward to working together and working with everyone who's tuning in.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.